Let's take a look at this transfer fork. That looks kind of interesting. It's going to be measured in inches, made out of cast iron. So let's go new and English inches. And we'll start with maybe putting the origin right there in the center. So new sketch, select this axis, or that plane rather. And then we'll use the center point arc. We'll lock in at this point, but not click. We're just going to type in 1. That way we can arc over and zoom back until we click into that position. So that gives a good starting point, and we might even be able to move this off to the side, because what we'll be able to do is maybe draw half of it, and then we'll take a mirror image. So a way to speed up the process would be to make a line that goes from the top to the middle, like that, and then just make that a construction line that we can use for mirror imaging. That's not the right one, it's this one over here. All right, so we're going to use that to make a mirror image of this left side. You'll see what I'm talking about, because what we're going to do is roughly sketch it out. It's going to be a vertical line, horizontal. Then this is going to go up a bit and go at an angle. And then what we'll do is go up a little bit more, over like this, down, and then we'll stop right there. Let's see if we can take a mirror image of that before we start constraining the part. And so the way you do a mirror image of a sketch is you go up here to mirror, and it says select the objects you want to take a mirror of. And I'm not even holding control down. It just highlights them in blue. And it says, what do you want to use for the line? And I'm going to say, select this one right here. And if you apply, it's going to put the other shape over like that. So it kind of saves you a little bit of work, perhaps. And we're about to see whether it's going to keep these two equal to each other. So that is to be determined. Now we already have this distance known from the top to the bottom as 0.75 for the sketch that's right there. And it looks like that lined up well, so that was a nice constraint to have. We're going to keep these right in this area. I'm going to move this, make sure that it looks like that, move it over here to this side. I'll start adding some more things. We got 3.5, and we'll see if some symmetry is maintained as we're doing this. It says 3, so we're going to go 3.5, and looks like it did maintain symmetry throughout the whole thing. So then the next thing we're going to do, see this right over here, is maybe change the number of digits. So what you can do is tools, options, or probably better to be just the document properties under units. And we'll just use 2 places past the decimal. Apply and then close. The width of this right here is 0.75. So it looks black, like almost like it needs to be that is fixed in size. Although, yeah, it looks like that one knew that it was exactly 0.75 already. I guess I got lucky on drawing that. And then now you'll see this one is black because of that, and we need to make that one a 1.5 length line, as you see in this diagram. Let's see if we got a gap in here, if that's known. Look way over there, another 0.75. So a lot of that repeating size there. Now this is midpoints here because this is actually 2 lines. So I'm going to be careful maybe going from here to there instead. This time I only put 0.75 to widen that up a bit. Then how wide are these here? 0.75 again. Look at how, oh wait, look at how you change one and the other one changes automatically. I just love that. All right, let's see. We got some other things to do, like maybe the height on this right at this point, from there up to here. Okay, we small to the side for that is going to be 1.25. All right, we still got some things that need to be constrained. We need a total height of 3.5, so we can go from here down to here, 3.5. And you just keep making things, making constraints until you see all these purple lines go away. Now, what's happening here is that it's likely that, this is not collinear with or coincident with that point. Let's see if we can find that over there. It does look like it is a depth of, if I'm not misleading myself on this one. It looks like this is also point 1.25. So what we can do on this one is to say that from this point to this point is also, or maybe we can do it the other side. That way it looks a little bit symmetric. This point to this point, also 1.25. All right, that looks pretty good. It's still got one constraint unknown. We might just glance at that. It'll probably be something that comes out a little bit later. We'll say show all degrees of freedom. And you see this one right here could be moved side to side. And so it's kind of maybe an artifact of there being two lines there. So why don't we just go in there and delete the two lines that are there and just make one instead. So that's just an artifact of making a mirror image. And now we're fully constrained, which looks great. And now we can extrude this 5 inches. Is that what we're ready to do? I think so. So it looks a lot more daunting until you start to just take a look at it and use some of these things like constraints in mirror imaging to achieve our goals. So there's the 5 inch. Let's see what else we want to tackle next. We got a groove all the way down the center. So that looks good. So it looks like we only need to add this part to the top. So how about we draw on this shape right here. So we'll do a new sketch and we'll just assume that we can add an arc to that surface. And so what we can do is do a center point arc. Just put it somewhere arbitrarily here. Start at the edge and then sweep over. Then we need to add some dimensions to that. And the dimensions on that one is 0.5 if we're talking about the radius. Now, let's see. I think that might actually be the tan we're dealing with here. Is that the radius? Just wish it had the R in there. Let's just take a look at it here. I wish it would show us the whole thing. It does seem to show like in the middle of this. So we're going to assume that that is correct. Now, what we can do with that shape is actually extrude it all the way across. But maybe before we do that, we can cut a hole. Let's just do it afterwards. Let me show you the value of extruding that across there because we'll just do a cut right through the middle. So what we can do then is just say extrude, and then you can look at the various options. You can say, for example, through all, and we really need to go the other direction, I think. But it really doesn't know what that is. Maybe we can go up to a surface, like we can go up to that surface. Or, as we've learned before, you might be able to right-click and select the plane back behind it. Well, that didn't work too well. So let's go ahead and extrude this. And we will orbit around to the other side. We'll say we want to go up to this plane. So pan over here. We want to go the other direction, and we want to stop on this plane right here. Then we can cut the rest of it off. And I like how that merges it in pretty well. And then maybe we can find the center of this, but we may not even have to do that. Let's see if we can easily find it. We're going to make the sketch right there. That's the first thing. Then we can zero in on the area we want. Let's see if it'll help us find the center like that. And if it doesn't, you can just put the circle down here somewhere, right? And then what you do is you select this shape and that shape, control click, and you just say, let's make those concentric. It's easy enough. Then make it 1/2 of an inch in diameter. Let's go ahead and extrude cut. And we want to go the other direction and cut. And we want to go through all, which is this one right here. All right, looking better. Then what we can do is go ahead and shave off the extra stuff that we didn't need. So you can right click here, say new sketch, then just focus in on this part. What we can do then is just say, let's grab a rectangle, maybe just a 2-point rectangle. Yeah, and we'll see if we can start right here, and then go up to this area right there. Now that is 0.75. It looks like it is the right cut for this. It might be that it thinks that this is not pixel size. Well, let's just see if we can proceed with that and get a smooth cut. So remember to click on this one and then go like that and just glance on the inside to make sure there's no lines. Now this line is okay right here because it's a change in slope from the curvature to the flat surface. Okay, let's see, that's looking pretty good. Looks like we got two more cuts to go, and that's the cut over the top and then also through the middle. So for this one, we might try something a little bit different, and that is to see if we can just look at a section of it, and then we'll extrude it that way. So let's see if we can cut this in half and a new feature, introduce you to a new feature called sections. All right, to make a section, you can go over here and expand the origin, and then we have been drawing on the XY plane, but let's select the YZ plane that cuts that in half. What we can then do is go under view and say half section view, and it cuts it in half. And then we can just start drawing on this surface. We can draw on the XY plane. So let's go ahead and click OK to that half section. We'll remove it in a moment. And then what we can do then is right click on this plane and start sketching on it. And it looks like there's two cuts. You can see that one of them is essentially going to start at the tangent to this circle. So maybe a 2-point rectangle would be in order from there over like this to represent that top cut. We have a bottom cut that goes all the way through. Now I'm going to assume that those widths are the same. We got 0.75 here, and then maybe they're not the same here. Let's see. That's actually 1 inch up there. And let's see about this one. It's also 1 inch on this other side as well. So maybe not the same width on those two rectangles, so I'll make them a little bit different. Then we start making them with a known dimension, defining what those distances are. We've learned that that's 1. The depth of this cut, as you can see right here, is 1/2 inch. And somehow it knew that automatically. It's just kind of reading my mind on some of these things. That's nice. And then let's see if we can figure out the height from here all the way down. That would be the 1 inch plus the 0.75. So that's an easy calculation to make right here. And we say 1.75. So that goes up to the bottom of that, which makes perfect sense. Let's just see if we can move these around. Yeah, it looks like we could move those around. Now, what we could do is try to make it symmetric. Yeah, there's several different ways of doing that. We could make a dotted line going right through the middle and make it symmetric. But let's just go ahead and measure from one end over to the other and make that 0.75. So we go right here to right there, and we will say that's 0.75. And then we can also do the same thing over here. We'll use the symmetry tool on another part later. So now we're ready for a cut. And here I'm trying to be super efficient and do 2 cuts at once. So here I'm selecting cut. I want to cut that face and this one right here. But what I want to do is go through all, certainly like that, but I also want to go back in the other direction as well. So I want to say make it a two-dimensional two-dimensional extrude. So this one is symmetric. Maybe that was asymmetric. So symmetric just basically means it's going to go all the way up to the same part on both sides. We could, I think if you asymmetric, it gives you 2 values here, but we're going to do the same cut in both directions. And at this point, I wonder if we can, oh, I think I did an extrude. So let's go back to that one right there. And I needed to do an extrude cut instead. Oops, don't need to change the sketch. We need to edit the feature. So right click on this and say edit feature. Now we can go over here and change it to a cut and make sure it looks right now. I didn't go all the way through. So it's a nice thing about the feature tree over here in this model browser is you can start changing things and then roll them forward and backwards as needed. So make sure it says through all and also cut. So all that clicking around um, made it a little bit random there for a moment. And of course, this is not really a cut. This is just a view as seen by this marbled appearance on the inside. So now we will just go and delete that section view. And are we done? The the widths on these things don't really look exactly right. So let's go through and make sure I didn't make a mistake. See this width right here? Looks like it needs to be more narrow. It says 0.75 right there. But I wonder if it was talking about that gap instead. Oh yeah, that's actually 0.75 here. So let's see if we can find the width somewhere in there. Okay, this is one of the powerful things about the model view over here is you can go back and make a mistake, uh, go back and fix a mistake on the very first one. So I'm expanding the tree for extrusion, right click on this and to see if I made an error somewhere. And you certainly see it right here. I misread this 0.75 to be this width right here, but if you look at the arrows, it's the gap width. So that right there is the one that is not correct. And so now I'm starting to see my degrees of freedom. I can hide those like this, and then also put the correct measurement in, which said that if we go from this point to this point right here, 1.75. All right, then the cool thing about this that I absolutely love is that you can just roll those changes forward, go over to your isometric view, and just look at how exact and precise that is. Now, it's not exactly right because you see right here, there is a gap all the way through, and here there is not. So apparently I made another mistake, but that's the nice thing about this. You just go and find the sketch that has a mistake in there, edit sketch, and then you start to correct these things. Now, what I could do is go back to this view again and see if I can get that slice view. Let's go ahead and finish that. And I think I was clicking on this plane, and then I said, let's do a half section view. And we will leave it right there as we go back and change that sketch. Now, if we orbit underneath this, we're going to see is it really needs to be a cut all the way through. Okay, so yeah, it looks like I needed to go all the way up to this one here. Okay, a little bit up there, that wall underneath. Okay, and then in reviewing the sketch, I see this is 3.5 and that's 1.25, which means the height of this rectangle that I was cutting out in the middle should have been 2.25. So let's edit that last cut and see if that was the place where there was an error right there. So 2.25, and it's actually going to take off this bridge. I kind of imagined there was a bridge behind there um, on this transfer fork. It looks like that's not correct. Rolling those changes forward, then going over to our view and deleting that view. Now we have it looking exactly like that. You can orbit over the top, shift and scroll wheel and see that that's not a bridge in the middle. It's just a gap. So this is our transfer fork, and just make sure you make it out of cast iron. And to find the volume of this, we can go over to right click on the part itself up here that we're going to save as part number, let's see, 4.4. And we're going to select I properties at the bottom. Pull this over from another screen. On the physical tab, we want to make sure that it says cast iron under the material. Cast iron. Okay, there we go. And then what we're doing is looking for the volume. And so you'll see that as one of the physical properties right here. And it's basically 11.17 cubic inches. And over here it says relative error. So you can actually increase the precision if you wanted to, but this is really good enough for what we want to do. It has enough significant figures for what we need. All right, that's it. Make sure you save this one to your folder on your desktop and then upload that into D2L. On to the next video.